So what do we do when we're stuck with really disrespectful, really highly strung or very emotional people? And how do we deal with that without getting caught up in rescuing, in fixing, and walking away not being really drained? Because that is a skill level that most people don't have. And it's also something that I think can be an absolute game changer for your entire life. So if you're interested in learning how to do that and you want to come and find out more, join me in this podcast.
You're listening to the Intuitive Mastery Podcast. Hi, I'm Kate Connolly, and with over 15 years of intuitive healing and teaching experience, I'm here to help you celebrate intuition and value authenticity to create a world where you have the freedom to live your best life. This podcast is here to teach you how to apply the principles of spirituality, healing, and mindset to have true and lasting joy, all from the inside out. This is the Intuitive Mastery Podcast.
Hello, my beautiful soul family and anybody who is tuning in for the first time. My name is Kate. I am an intuitive healer and an intuition teacher. And one of the things that I love about my work is that it kind of encompasses every area of our lives, because ultimately, for me, intuition is this deep trust in ourselves, our ability to discern between what's truth, what's fear, what's conditioning, what's really being told to us from our highest self, but also just that ability to make really empowered choices based on your knowing, based on having this really powerful understanding of yourself. And I did actually have the most beautiful story this morning, which is a bit of an aside, but I just want to share it because it's going to not be a segue at all into today's topic, but just as a bit of a beautiful success story. I did have a client today find her soulmate, and it was just such a beautiful experience to kind of have this conversation with her, because she's been doing a lot of her own kind of personal growth and self-actualization and moving through a few different relationships that she had uncertainty about. And just coming back to that constant intuitive awareness and understanding of, if something doesn't feel 100% right, if you're sitting on a maybe, then it's probably a no. And working through that process with her and getting her back into that place of trust opened up the possibility for her soulmate to come through. And literally, as soon as I tuned in and as soon as we had the conversation with this new partner, it was so incredibly obvious. There was nothing to be discussed. It was just like 100% yes. And the joy and the relief and the love and all of the stuff that she's experiencing was worth all of the work that she's done on herself to learn how to deeply trust herself no matter what, and to work through any kind of blockages that are in her way. So we have like different levels of this awareness, right? We have the discernment around situations, people, decisions, things, right? Then we have blocks. So we're going to, and we all have, or most of us have, not everybody, karmic imprinting or subconscious sabotaging around creating the life that we want to call in, whether it's a relationship or whether it's money or health or whatever it might be. Most of us will have our level of karmic imprinting that will stop us from being able to create what it is that we want to create. And this is very, very common. So part of being able to trust ourselves implicitly is to learn and understand if we have a fear or a sabotage that's stopping us from being able to trust ourselves, to stop our decision making, that might be creating repeated patterns of dysfunction that we don't want to have. So when we see that happening in our lives, we want to be able to find a way to come back to ourselves, work through whatever that kind of block is, so that we can see ourselves more clearly, we can see a situation more clearly, and we can work through things. Now, I still sometimes have this blocked lens where I can't see things as clearly as I would like to. And the way that that shows up in my life is through suffering of some kind, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's with my business, whether it's with my health. If I have a level of suffering somewhere or a part of my life that doesn't feel right, and I really struggle with an aspect, that's a really good opportunity for me to go, why? Like, what's actually going on here? What do I need to look at? And is there a part of me that needs some healing, or some affirmations, or some meditation, or some energy work? Or what is it that I actually need to kind of feel really clear about this? And for me, it's often a combination of different things. But one of the things that I want to talk to you today is the combination of energy work plus discernment, plus the ability to kind of de-escalate situations based on your behavior. Now, this behavioral aspect is much, much easier if you've worked through some of your own unconscious sabotages, okay? So when we go into tricky conversations with people, if we're feeling disrespected, if we're feeling, or if the person is behaving in a way that is really uncomfortable and mean, or in a place where you're actually feeling unsafe, it's sometimes extremely difficult to detach from your own reactive pattern of behavior so that you can stay calm. And sometimes when we want to have that really mature interaction and then we accidentally end up yelling or frustrated or shutting down or walking away instead, it's really helpful to have just like 2 or 3 tools in your toolkit that you can use to help you not do that, to help you detach from the drama, to help you ground yourself, to help yourself not get caught up in the conversation too deeply. And there's going to be 2 or 3 behavioral things, and then there's going to be a couple of energetic things. And the combination of those I find work really well together. Okay. So as with all intuitive work, this is primarily about you becoming the best version of yourself that you can be, and trusting yourself implicitly with your decisions, your choices, your discernment, with your ability to understand situations, and you lose that second guessing. You lose that fear about your life. You can actually 100% with trust and certainty step into the next section of your life, whatever that looks like. And learning how to discern during interactions with difficult people, but also learning how to combine the esoteric energetic work with behavioral stuff, I think can be a really powerful combination. Okay. So ultimately, this is about you having the best life that you can have, and combining energetic work or healing work or clearing sabotages or shadow work or whatever it is that you need with practical, down-to-earth, grounded techniques that you can do to behaviorally change your life as well. Okay. If you find this behavioral stuff too hard, again, this might just be a way for you to go, okay, I'm getting too triggered by this. I just need to look at myself a little bit and ask myself why. Okay, I just need to explore myself a little bit, especially around this particular phrase, this particular person, this particular subject. And once I can clear and heal that aspect of myself, then the behavioral aspect becomes a lot more easy. If you're nailing that behavioral aspect, nothing to be done. Just keep doing it. Sometimes we just need the tools. And once we have the tools, it's very easy to start to implement that. And then the discipline comes in continuing to do that until it's a habit. Okay. So there's just so many different layers on how we can master ourselves and how we respond in the world. But I really find that the combination between energy stuff, belief stuff, emotional stuff, and the practical behavioral work is really, really profound. It's not enough to know that you need to change your habit and change it. You also have to understand that there might be an aspect of yourself that's blocking that habit change. Find what that is, do some healing work on it, and then create the habit, because it just happens so much more easily that way. It's creating the internal change before you create the external change. Okay, so while that's super important, and I really think that's a necessary part of kind of self-actualization and learning to become your best self, this is kind of more sitting in the behavioral stuff. Okay, this is more, okay, when I'm feeling really hooked in by something and someone, if they're in a dysfunctional state, what can I do? What are the practical things that I can do to move through that conversation without walking away feeling completely drained, feeling really angry myself, feeling like I need to just hold myself away for a couple of days just to process. Okay, so we're going to start with the energy first. The first one is learning how to detach and stay grounded. Okay, I guess that's both of them, but they're two completely different things. One is where we are not energetically hooking in or being hooked in by the other person, and the other one is making sure that you are completely grounded. Now, grounding is much, much more important, because if you are feeling grounded already, the chances of someone energetically sucking you dry, the chances of your empathic capabilities being kind of pulled into the conversation is dramatically less. The more grounded you are, the more solid you are in your body and your personality and your energy, the much, much less likely it is that someone is going to really drain you. And what I mean by sucking you dry is that at the end of the conversation, do you feel like your whole energy is being drained out of your body? Do you feel exhausted? Do you feel really deflated, defeated, frustrated, annoyed, exhausted? Like, what are you feeling after that interaction? Because if you're feeling any of those things, then energetically what's happening is that other person is hooking into your energy field and siphoning some of your energy out. That's what's happening on the energetic level. On the conversational level, what they're doing is that they might be criticizing or getting defensive, or they might be gaslighting, or they might be going into victim mode, so that you're forced then to go into some kind of rescuer, right? So they're using different conversational techniques, usually unconsciously, to get you to unconsciously rescue them, or to look after them, or to reassure them, or to make sure that they're okay. But then you walk away feeling exhausted and they walk away feeling better. Okay? This is such a common relational issue that happens. So the more grounded you are, the less likely you'll be kind of sucked into that behavioral pattern unconsciously. It creates almost like a buffer between their behavior and your reaction, so that you have like a sovereign ability to kind of make a different choice. Okay. So being grounded, there's lots and lots of ways that you can do that. Probably by far the most common and the most used is pretending like you have roots coming out of your feet into the earth. Now, I like doing this as part of a bigger process. I actually find myself doing this if I have someone who is in an irrational state and I need to make sure that I'm clear. The way that I would do it in that situation is by calling in light from the greater central sun, or from source energy, calling it all the way down through all of the sun. So the greater central sun, the central sun, the sun, just calling it all the way down through the top of your head, and just allowing this activation of source energy to come through every cell, tissue, and organ of your body. And all you have to do, if you're not used to doing this, is ask for it. All you have to do is ask, and it will happen. You ask for it to come through your body. It goes all the way down through your feet. Then you imagine that light coming from the bottom of your feet into the earth, and it goes all the way down into the center of the earth. And then once it hits the center of the earth, You then call in a beautiful light. I usually like to call in like an amethyst diamond white light to come back up from the center of the earth, comes all the way through your feet, reactivating your body with Gaia energy. So you've got source and Gaia energy kind of connecting in through your body. It comes all the way back up, and then it comes through your head again, and then out, up through the sun, the central sun, and the greater central sun into source energy. And when you do that, slow it down if you can. I can do it in about 10 seconds now. But when you're first learning, just allow yourself to kind of slow it down and get really familiar with it outside of a relational circumstance. So, you know, in the morning when you're first getting up, or when you've got 5 minutes to yourself, if you ever have 5 minutes or even a minute, give yourself an opportunity to try that for yourself, calling the energy through so that you're feeling really grounded and connected into your body. Okay, and it really is a very powerful experience because it kind of gets you out of your thinking mind, it gets you out of the daydreaming, it gets you out of that kind of worry and fear stuff, and it just kind of gets you present. It gets you present in your body, and it gets you feeling like you can pay attention and to be literally in the present moment and not in the past or the future. Okay, so that's a really nice way to do it. If you are noticing that you are in a conversation already and you are not grounded, it is actually okay to just give yourself 10 seconds to call light in and just imagine that light coming all the way down into earth. Or you can imagine roots coming out from your feet into the earth and just allowing yourself to get more grounded, okay? And what you will feel when you become more grounded, it's almost like your body becomes a little bit heavier, but you become more present. Things feel more still and they feel more stable. They feel more calm, and you're going to have a bit more peace through your body. So that's usually a few signs that you know that you're grounded. And also what's really fascinating, if you want to play with this and practice, is that you feel more detached from the other person. You don't feel completely caught up in their story, their emotions, their energy. It's almost like, oh wow, I can see us and feel us as different people now. When you have someone that's very emotional or really triggered, very disrespectful, and you are an empathic person, or if you feel other people's energy very well, what will happen very often if you are not grounded is that it's almost like your energies will meld together. And it's really difficult to separate their escalation from your escalation. Really, really difficult. So grounding yourself is a really nice way to create a bit of a disconnection, create a bit of a gap. The next energetic thing that I like to do or to consider is literally cutting cords between me and that person, especially if we're already in a relationship of some kind, whether it's personal, professional, whatever it is, but cutting the cords so that if you're feeling really hooked in by someone and you're finding it really difficult to detach from their experience, then you can imagine, or you can ask Archangel Michael to come in, or you can imagine yourself just cutting any cords between the two of you. And usually there's like little hooky things in your body, and you can just ask for those to be removed. Okay? So you can ask for those to come out of your body. Then you seal that energy up with amber light. And then you can call in Saint Germain and the Violet Flame Angels to clear your energy field. Okay? Sounds a bit complicated. Practice it when you're alone. Give yourself some time to practice. But if you remember nothing else, just ask for any cords that are unhealthy between you and the other person to be cut and released from you. Okay? Cut and released from you any cords so that you can, number one, feel grounded. And number two, you're not being caught up in their energy by releasing any thoughts, beliefs, or drama that they're kind of hooking into you. So number one, we have the groundedness, and number two, remember, if you are empathic, if you're energetically aware, if you find yourself getting caught up in other people's stuff, and by other people's stuff I mean their stories, their emotions, their beliefs, their issues. If you find yourself being inextricably, if that's the word, called into them, right? Where you feel like you need to rescue or reassure or fix or change your behavior or do something that is not necessarily in your best and highest, but is to help or rescue or to band-aid for someone else, it's probably not the healthiest interaction to be having. So anything that you can do from an energetic perspective to clear yourself from that confusion is really important. So grounding and cord cutting, practice it, really healthy. Now, if you have the foresight to know that you're about to go into a conversation with a difficult person, then set it up first. Set it up so that you are already grounded, you're feeling really solid in your body, and just ask for any unhealthy cords between you and that person to be completely cut and any hooks to be removed. So before you've even started that conversation, you're feeling more sovereign and you're feeling more balanced in your body. You can still do it during the conversation. If you become aware of it, that's great. But if you can do it beforehand, then obviously it'll feel easier from the beginning. Okay, so that's the energy side of things. There are other things that you can do there, but I think if we add too much, it might just get confusing and really difficult to remember. So 2 things, grounding and removing cords, okay? And remember to get the hooks out as well, because it's usually a hook rather than a straight cord. It can just be a straight cord, but it's usually not. So that's what you do. And if you're not sure how to do that, I do have other videos on what that looks like here. And also I have all of these techniques in the Intuitive Mastery School that you can learn as well, which I run. So learn about those because those are really, really helpful. But what I've explained to you should be enough if you want to practice that. Okay, so that's the energy side of things. Now, the behavioral side of things is really fascinating and super important. And I really think that there's probably 2 main rules, if you want to call it that will help you to be an island in chaos, right? Be the calm person in the middle of someone else's drama, okay? Number 1, the most important that I actually find extremely helpful, and I remind myself of this all the time because I have a very challenging human in my life, is I get to choose if I speak. I get to choose. I always get to choose. Even if someone is in a bad place, even if they're throwing stuff at me, even if they're trying to hook me in with criticisms or blame or defensiveness or whatever it is that they're kind of stuck in, if they're trying to get me to kind of rescue or pull out of my own sovereignty, and by that I mean when I lose my center, when I lose my sense of self, when I start to feel pulled into their story to the point where I'm losing discernment, I'm losing my center, I'm losing my peace. If I'm getting pulled into that energy, then the most powerful thing I can do in that moment, apart from grounding and releasing cords, is to remember I get to choose if I speak. I get to choose, always. And if you have the time, and I really love doing this, is pause for as long as you need. You don't have to reply to someone being disrespectful or rude ever. You don't ever have to respond to that. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll give myself a moment. I'll make sure I'm still grounded. I'll just take a big breath, not a big, but just like an internal, just a grounding kind of calming breath to make sure that I'm staying in my own energy and not being sucked into the drama. Just take the breath and slow down. And then I'll ask my highest self. Number 1, do I need to reply to this? Right? Yes or no? It's a very simple question. You'll usually get it if you're in your center, if you're feeling calm, if you're used to connecting in with your highest self or into your intuition. It will tell you yes or no. All right, do I need to respond to this, yes or no? Remember, I get to choose if I speak. So powerful, right? It's mind-blowing how powerful that is. It's so simple and so effective. Then, if your highest self is saying, yes, it's important to respond, ask for the words. Ask for the words. Ask for what is it that I need to say right now to maintain my center and to not get caught up in the drama. Okay, what's the most appropriate thing to say right now based on my truth? Now, you don't have to say all of those words in the moment, but you can just ask for guidance, like what's the best thing to say right now? Okay, and if you get that download, if you get that information, then say it. Give yourself permission to say that. It might be completely out of character. It might be something that you've never said before. But this is where discernment is really important. Make sure that you're not doing it from a reactive state, but from a channeled state, which means that you haven't been caught up in the drama and the pain. You're not trying to fix or band-aid or do anything for that person. You're just staying in your own energy. You're staying in your sovereignty. And then you're asking for guidance on the best way to respond. And usually that is not going to be, or not usually, it is never going to be a reactive thing. It's going to be a calm, centered, rational, loving thing to say if it's properly channeled. Okay, if it's not, a bit of practice and tweaking might be required. Okay, but basically what you can do then, if you can actually channel on the spot and just stay in that really calm place, remember number 2 outside of, I guess it's number 3, because number 1 is like remembering that you never have to speak. Number 2 is asking for the information. And then number 3 is, I've lost it now. Seeing behind the behavior. All right? Seeing behind the behavior, which is most people in reaction, most people who are disrespectful, most people who are struggling are suffering underneath that. And if you can remember that most people's behavior is if it's not coming from a healthy, whole, grounded, safe place, they're going to be in a reaction of some kind, and there's going to be a reason underneath it. Now, not everyone's going to be open to speaking about that or even acknowledging that that's happening for them, but it's still really important to know in your own mind that they're in pain. They are suffering in that moment. So how we respond is actually really, really important to that, okay? So I know it's a lot, but if you break it down, it gets a little bit easier. So number 1, ground yourself, okay? Roots out of the feet into the earth, or light coming through into the earth. That's number 1. Number 2, unhook or cut cords from that person. Anything unhealthy, anything that's not serving that relationship, release it, okay? Really, really helpful, super, super important things to do. Every time I forget to do this, I regret it, because if I ever find myself reactive in a conversation, if I ever find myself getting caught up in someone else's narrative or story, it's because I haven't done those 2 things. Okay, so super important. Then from the behavioral perspective, remember, you do not have to respond ever. If you want clarity, ask your higher self, ask your intuition, do I need to respond to this, right? Now, I never recommend doing silence, but if you don't have to respond to this, you can say that out loud. I'm actually choosing not to respond to that. That was disrespectful. Done. You don't have to explain yourself, okay? If the answer is yes, and you're not really sure what to say, if you're getting a little bit caught up in it, then ask for the information to come through. Make sure that it's very grounded and very solid, and you're not going into reaction yourself. This is really important. And if you can't do that, then you can start to practice some of the acknowledging or validating statements, some really basic ones like, I don't want you to feel that way. I'm really sorry you're experiencing X, Y, and Z. That must be really hard for you. Is there anything you need? Like, but not from a rescuing perspective, just from a loving, listening perspective. Okay. And then number 3, remember that everybody in that situation is suffering. So the last thing that you need to be doing is adding to that suffering, okay? Always remember there's a deeper reason. And if they're not ready or willing or able to see that or explore that, that's okay. But if you have that awareness of their suffering, then you can actually slow everything down for yourself. Just be calm and balanced. Stay energetically sovereign. And if you can, speak from a place of love. And usually that love stuff is going to come from a place of acknowledgement and validation. You don't have to go beyond that. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to get reactive. You don't have to do anything else apart from acknowledge and validate. Acknowledge and validation doesn't mean that you agree with them. It doesn't mean that what they're saying is correct. It doesn't mean that you're going to change everything to make sure that their views are, law now. Like, not at all. It is literally just an acknowledgement of their experience. Wow, that must be really hard for you to go through that. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing, and then say the experience. I don't want you to feel that way. Go into some acknowledgement statements and then validate. Like, I understand in that situation that must be really difficult for you. These emotions that you're going through, this story that you've experienced, that must be really tough on you, right? And then you can kind of bring it back to them. Is there anything that you can do about this? What is it that you would like to do? Is there anything that you need? Just bring it back to them so that you're not then stepping straight into advice, taking over, rescuing, fixing. Like, that is actually not your job, especially if they have been disrespectful and rude, especially so, okay? So I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not really. So ground, just to go through it again, ground, cut cords, over here, breathe. You do not have to answer. You don't ever have to answer unless you choose. You always get to choose if you talk, right? Always. Ask whether you need to respond to something, and then follow the path from there. What do I do if I don't need to respond? Okay, I'm just choosing not to respond to that. That was really disrespectful. Do I need to respond? Yes, I do. Cool. Let me acknowledge and validate, and let me remember that when they are in that state, they are suffering, right? And that suffering needs compassion and love. And we give compassion and love through acknowledging and validating their experience. That's it. Okay? We don't agree necessarily. We don't fix it. We don't rescue. We don't pull their energy into ours so that we feel exhausted and drained. We just acknowledge and validate. So have a practice of that. Let me know in the comments if that's helpful, what you found, if you actually feel like that's made a really decent change for the dynamic of your relationship. And that relationship can be anything from an intimate partner to a child, to a parent, to a colleague, to a friend, wherever it takes you. But remember, if you can slow yourself down by being grounded and separate, if you can make sure that your voice is tempered and low and follow those steps, then everything will shift for you. And then when you walk away from that conversation, you're going to feel more empowered. So the behavioral stuff, I find personally on its own doesn't work, because I can still walk away feeling completely exhausted and drained. However, if you combine the energy stuff with the behavioral stuff, you can not only diffuse, de-escalate, and help someone feel loved and seen, but you can also walk away feeling empowered. I mean, that's like a winning combo for me. So please give it a try. Practice these energy things if you don't know how to do it and you're not used to doing it, and just see how it feels. Just try it on for size if it resonates, and then try the behavioral stuff after you've done the energy work. Okay, and that combination is like, it's a winner for sure. So sending lots of love. I hope that really helps you, and I'm really keen to see what changes for you.